Hello. So I just watched a video by Ask an Autistic on executive functioning. When I first discovered Asperger's, I was reading up quite a bit, and one of the theories as to what Asperger's actually is neurologically was issues with executive functioning. And now that I think about that, I can kind of understand why someone might think that. But it's a little bit misleading, I think. So today I wanted to share some insight into what that actually looks like on the inside. So executive functioning is essentially the ability to make decisions and act on them. And I definitely have trouble with this. But the reason that I have trouble with that is because I see so many opportunities and possibilities, and it's too much for me to try and find which one is the best. There's something called choice paralysis, which happens to everybody to some degree, and it's the effect where if you're given too many choices, you fail to make any choice whatsoever. So if someone says, do you want tea or coffee? You say coffee. If someone lists you 110 different drinks, you might be over it by the time they got to like 60 or 70. And that's kind of how I feel like I have to make a lot of decisions. I just don't have the mental capacity to process all of that and come to a reasonable conclusion. So what happens is I just get completely fatigued and say, look, I don't care, pick one for me, or if I have to choose, I'll just pick one at random and hope it's okay. And one of the things that I really connected with in this video from Ask an Autistic was the fact that when that happens, your ability to self-monitor just goes away completely. When I'm so fatigued from trying to filter through these thousands and thousands of options, the one that I end up picking, I actually have no idea if it's any good or not, because essentially the reason I'm picking it is because I haven't got the mental energy to think anymore. She uses an example of clean the kitchen. Like, great, how do I do that? What's the first step to cleaning the kitchen? And someone else might just walk in there and do the first thing that comes to mind. But I don't have a first thing that comes to mind. I have a first 10 or 20 or 100 things that come to mind. And I have to decide very consciously which one of those things that I do. That's maybe another reason why a typical Asperger's trait is to like routine, because when I have a routine, I don't need to think. It's already done, it's already listed out there, all I need to do is do it. And it's so relaxing not to have to think. The difficult thing is that at every stage, it takes a very long time to think, okay, what's next? So cooking is a really good example. So I chop the onions. Okay, what's next? Okay, I'll get the fry pan out of the cupboard. Okay, what's next? Do I put it on the stove and then light it and then get the oil? Or do I get the oil and then light it and then put it on the stove? There's just so many possible combinations and so many little decisions that need to be made in that instant. And if I don't have a way that I do it, then it takes just a little bit of energy, a little bit of energy, a little bit of energy for each of those decisions, so that by the time I'm finished, I'm just wrecked. That's why open-ended tasks are really, really difficult, because I just get overwhelmed by the amount of choices that I have to make. So how I would explain executive functioning issues is in terms of choice paralysis. All these choices that other people seem to just make effortlessly and unconsciously, I seem to have to consciously choose. And it's a question, and it seems to be an important question. Writing is the same. Do I say hello? Do I say hi? Do I say hey? Do I use your name? Do I use which version of your name? Do I use a nickname? Do I put a comma at the end? All of those things, I have to choose one of those possibilities. And it's really difficult to turn my brain off to not ask me the question. It's just really frustrating to try and push through that when every 5 seconds, what do I do next? And it takes 5 seconds to figure out, okay, what's the next step? Okay, that's the next step. Good. Next one. Go. And then 5 seconds later, right, done that. What do I do next? It's just constant barrier after barrier after barrier after barrier. And when you're really tired, that's almost impossible to do. So you can imagine how these kind of issues interact with depression as well. I want to do something and I just can't do anything. And finding out what I want to do is even a huge struggle, because I still need to filter through these list of 1,000 things that I might want to do to find the one thing that I do want to do, and then act on it. And then, great, I've acted on it. And then what? What next? What next? Every 5 seconds. What do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? So I think that particular issue is a huge contributor to issues surrounding depression and things like that. And what I can do to help myself with those kind of things is just have that routine, have that prearranged, non-negotiable thing that I have to do, regardless of whether I feel like it or not. Like, I've committed to going to the gym 3 times a week, which I have, by the way, which is really good. And so I have to. The alarm goes off. What do? The answer is easy. You get up, you get dressed, you ride your bike to the gym. That's what you do. No questions asked. Unfortunately, there are lots of times in life where that's not so easy. So that's my insight into what it's like to have too many ideas to be able to choose between them. And what that looks like is difficulty with executive function. So as usual, I hope that made some sense. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you another time. Bye.